Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 181. And today's date is October 5th, 2013. And the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief for Saturday. And we understand that Obamacare has the web software has many glitches. There are many problems with it, and people are having a very difficult time using it. And the people are complaining about it today. They're bringing down some of the websites to try to fix them, to try to fix the bugs. And here are some complaints that people are having. One of them is, I am so disappointed. These prices are outrageous, and there are huge deductibles. No one can afford this. I am a single mother of two in school and working full-time, living 75% below the poverty level, and I do not qualify for a health care subsidy. Where the hell am I supposed to get $3,000 more a year to pay for this bronze health insurance plan? I do not even want insurance to begin with. This is frightening. And here's another one. Government forces people to pay new tax. People click on a website to see how much this new tax will cost them. Website crashes in the first hour. Government calls it a huge success. And here, these are just some of the complaints coming in. And again, I've said this in my other reports, Obamacare is not for the people. If it was truly for the people, the government staffers who complained they couldn't afford it and were about to quit their jobs wouldn't have to be bailed out by Obama and pay for their plans. And all of those staffers, most of them have taken the gold plan because they're not paying for it out of pocket because it was too expensive. And not just them, but who's going to bail out the people of America who can't afford it? Nobody. So they're going to be forced to take it, and if they don't want it, they are penalized. Again, if something is for the people, you do not have to campaign for it. You don't have to get movie stars to push it. You don't have to get moms, a group of moms out there to push this on the people, just like Obama has been doing. It would be something that everybody wants and everyone would rush to get to it. When you create something good and create something that everybody wants, people run to it. A good example, and I know everyone doesn't like Apple and the iPhone, but they created an incredible product. It worked really well. They created a new technology where you're able to swipe your finger and move things up and down. People ran to it. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't have done it. For government, if they create something that is that great, they wouldn't have to impose penalties. They wouldn't have to penalize you if you don't take it. Now, we understand that the NSA is spying on all of us, and we understand that, it's put in place to stop terrorists. And what has come out of here is that, pressed by the Democratic chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee at an oversight hearing, General Keith B. Alexander admitted that the number of terrorist plots foiled by the NSA's huge database of every phone call made in America was only maybe 2 at the most, or maybe just 1. And if you remember way back when this whole thing was broken and Snowden came out, they said there were 54 that were stopped. And we can see this, and I've been saying this since this happened. They are not spying on Americans and people outside of the country for terrorists. They are building lists. They're trying to make connections. They are building social graphs to understand how everyone is connected. If you are connected to some type of domestic terrorist group, this is why they have these private lists. This is why you can't get off of it. You don't know if you're on it. And even Chris Christie is using this list with one of his gun control laws, that if you are on this list, that you can, that you don't know if you're on it or not, and you can't get off of it, and there's no way to get off of it, you cannot get a gun permit. And we can see that this whole entire thing, the whole NSA spying, was about keeping track of the people, because when the collapse comes, they need to know who is going to be the troublemaker, who is going to give them problems, and it makes it a lot easier for them to pick up these people in the beginning when the collapse occurs. It is also being used to steal patent ideas, investment information, and to blackmail government officials like judges, uh, senators, congressmen into doing what they want. This is why this has been put into place. Now, James Clapper denied that the number of plots foiled should be the sole metric by which the success of the program is measured. We should just look at that. What he thinks that there's another metric here that's very important, and it's called the peace of mind metric, which is a bunch of BS, because what do we understand? These terrorist plots and the things that are occurring here in the U.S. and around the world are created by the central bankers, U.S. government, Israel. They use these to get what they want. They use 9/11 to get into Afghanistan. They use 9/11 to cover up corruption and the stolen $1 trillion of money. They used the Boston bombing to create an atmosphere of terror. They used the Kenya mall attack in Nairobi because Kenya was signing the deal with China to become the clearinghouse for yuan, which will bypass the U.S. dollar. They are using all of this to get what they want. They've used the false flag in Syria to get a war going. This is what it's all about, and it has nothing to do with peace of mind, because it is them who creates the terror. They're the ones who created the terrorist groups, and they're the ones who are doing this because they understand they need to keep control of the people, and the way to do it is to use this new technique called terror, and everyone gets scared. Everyone doesn't mind their liberties being taken away. They don't mind being strip searched. They don't mind their privacy being eroded away. Nobody cares about it, all in the name of keeping me safe, and it is completely against what the Constitution stands for. This is what the Constitution was created for, was so the government could not do this. Now we see DARPA has created this four-legged wildcat robot. We've seen this in the past. It was in the lab, all tied up to electrical cords, giving it power. But now we see it outside, running on its all four legs, just like a wildcat animal. And they did a little demonstration. I have the video here on the X22 Report site. But I was thinking, I mean, I understand that they are going to use this type of wildcat type of machinery out in the military, where it could carry equipment for the military, but this also could be modified. We have in a way where we have drones in the air, and they modify these remote control flying devices with cameras. You can put weapons on them. We also can see that this can also be a land drone, where they put cameras and weapons on these land drones. And it reminds me very much of Terminator, the movie, where these robots are, I mean, right now the artificial intelligence and all that is not where it needs to be, but you can see that their DHS, local authorities, could use these type of devices, mount cameras on them, mount weapons on them, and use these by remote control to herd the people where they want them to go. And you can definitely see that this is a huge possibility that could happen. Now, there was an interesting article in the Rockland Times, and it was something that has to do with Homeland Security versus your civil rights. And I'm going to read portions of it here. The Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution provides the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. The amendment assures us that only when law enforcement has probable cause to suspect a person of a crime, may their space be violated. Well, there's a wake-up call, folks. For years now, especially since September 11th, 2001, that most fundamental American rights have been eroding. All across the nation, every single day, armed officers with badges are stopping, interrogating, searching, detaining U.S. citizens with little or no explanation or probable cause. This is a complete violation of the Fourth Amendment. And we understand this was created to stop terrorists, and we understand this is what they're pushing. But it does not give officers the right to treat all of us like suspects. From the nation's airport, train stations, and federal buildings to random spot checks along roads and public gatherings, checkpoints with scowling, intimidating officers have become the norm. And what they're doing is they are getting people used to this by allowing everyone to be searched with no probable cause. They're allowing people to be, they're pushing people around and people aren't questioning it. And people are just going along with what's happening here. Now, DHS is now the largest uniform federal law enforcement agency in the nation, and every day it reaches out to local and state police and even to other federal agencies demanding citizens stop with little or no explanation. And we can definitely see what is happening here. This is how it started in Nazi Germany. Police state checkpoints. And Jack Furlong is a veteran criminal defense and civil rights lawyer. He summed it up the best. We have become a nation of roadblocks, temporary detention, and stop and frisk, and we have accepted the status quo as sheep. Our founding fathers would be appalled, and I completely agree with him. They would be appalled. Now, Kissinger, Henry Kissinger, 2 years ago was interviewed, and it was kind of lost in the shuffle. And there are very interesting things that come out of this interview of what has been happening today, and what you can see how their plan is all coming together. It might be delayed a little bit, like they were supposed to get into Syria, but it's a little bit delayed. But let me just go through some of this. This goes on to say, has the storm around Syria subsided? If so, why has the United States until recently insisted on the inclusion in the text of the UN resolution on chemical weapons of a provision on the possibility of using an army and having a military strike? Russian President Putin mentioned that he asked the Americans, Barack Obama, what the U.S. wanted to achieve in Syria, and he didn't get a clear answer from President Obama. And this speech that Kissinger made around 2 years ago, this is what he said. Why is the war inevitable? Who will launch it? Kissinger was candid in saying that the United States was luring China and Russia in a trap, and the final nail in the coffin would be Iran, the main goal of Israel. He concluded by saying that one who controls the oil, the government, and the food controls the people. Conditions at this stage are secondary compared to the main goal, to neutralize, including by means of armed force and a world war, the two main geopolitical rivals, Russia and China. The goal is to show who remains a self-sufficient and uncontrolled master of the globe. Kissinger was frank about it, saying that the American military were told that it was necessary to capture 7 Middle Eastern countries and take over their resources, and they had nearly completed this task. He said that a new society and a new world order would be created. There will be only one superpower, and it will be the winning world government. 7 Middle Eastern countries mentioned by Kissinger included Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Iran. The task indeed would have been virtually completed had Washington attack Syria and put it under its control according to the Iraqi model that they created. And it goes on, have these strategic plans been abandoned? Absolutely not. The fight is only beginning, as too much resources and expectations are associated with this vector of foreign policy. And they have not stopped. The plan is still the same. The only difference it's been delayed. And in the resolution with Assad, they did leave in Chapter 7, and Article 42 says if all else fails, they could use some type of force by land, air, or sea. Okay. Now, because of the shutdown right now, the Cyber Defense Initiative, which was a $6 billion project, has been put on hold. And this project was to secure the whole cyber infrastructure with businesses and government. And now, since this has been put on hold because of the shutdown, they are saying we are very vulnerable at this point to a cyber attack. And former Deputy Secretary of Defense William J. Lynn describes the cyber attack as being in 3 different stages. And he goes on to say that first stage of cyber attacks was the theft of information or the theft of money and things like that. The next phase of cyber attacks is disruption of services, like we've been seeing with websites and stuff like that, where they do a DoD denial of service attack, a DOS, and you see the websites completely go down and nothing can be, no functions on the website are actually functional. Now, we've seen Adobe get hit now, where they were able to take the people's information plus their personal and credit card information recently. We have seen websites being brought down where they're not operational anymore. And what he says is the next step to a successful cyber attack, and he goes, and it's reasonable to believe that we are right there now, is the destruction of U.S. infrastructure. And he went on to say, when and where is very difficult to say when this will occur, but we are at the point where a cyber attack could bring down the U.S. infrastructure. And we do understand they are holding drills for this, one in November, which is the power grid drill, to test the infrastructure against physical and cyber attack attacks. And we also understand that there is a cyber attack drill in the month of October coming up very soon, which includes over 1,000 banks at this point. Listen, everyone, I really appreciate everyone listening to me. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.